The thing about being the guy that makes the things is a lot of times people will ask, can you make a thing for me? An organization I'm a part of is doing a taco tour with some local restaurants as a fundraiser. So of course I get tasked with making a taco trophy, which in my world is a pretty perfectly normal thing to be doing. Of course the start of a good taco is a good tortilla. I've got this piece of brass that I got at a blacksmith shop auction with a whole bunch of other scrap metal. I think that'll make a pretty nice tortilla, and I've got a 5-inch hole saw to cut it out. Luckily, I had a viewer who saw my last video on putting this drill press back together and offered me the slow speed attachment for it. He said he had gotten a really good deal on some tapping heads, but turns out one of the tapping heads is the Delta slow speed attachment, not actually a tapping head, so he offered it to me, and I can't really say no to a rare accessory. This little drive gear goes in the quill. Feed that thing some fresh grease. Well, that ain't right. I'm thinking I don't have this thing fully seated. There we go. There we go. Yeah. Same viewer also sent me this keyless chuck. Looks like it's just a generic import, but we'll give it a shot. I've got this set up so that the torque is just going to push the piece into the column there so it won't spin around. Throw in some hearing protection and some Anchor Lube, and we'll give this a shot. I'll have to play with that more later. Let's swap to a different chuck. It probably makes sense to deburr and polish this thing before I turn it into a taco. Normally I wouldn't want to pull this up against the chuck like that because it would just pull the mandrel out. But since I'm just going to kind of file and polish this, I don't think it matters. It'll get some scratches in it when I bend it, but it'll be easier to get most of the polishing done when it's flat. I've got to say, I've never really considered what a appropriately proportioned radius on a taco would be, so I drew this up in CAD real quick to get an idea, and 1 inch seems about right. So now I've got a little mandrel I can screw the thing down to and bend it around, and that way I'll make sure that the bend is in the middle of the thing. I should anneal this before I start working it. Of course now there's a giant heat sink on it, but brass will work harden as you go, so I'll have to do this multiple times anyway. I may come back and do some more sanding and polishing on that, depending on how the whole thing comes together. But for now, I think I'll move on to making some filling. I think this taco is going to be like a carne inoxidable. Let's start cutting some pieces of this. Well, the hacksaw does its thing. I'm going to start on the base for this. My parents gave me 2 old teak picnic tables. It was one of those, maybe you can make one good one out of 2 bad ones, which I did, and I've been slowly using up the rest of the bad ones for other projects. If I were a better woodworker, I'd probably know the best way to clamp up something like this. But I'm not. What I did was just cut some little squares that were the right size, clamped it all up, and then could knock the squares out. That seemed to work okay. This is probably going to be the easiest time to drill the holes for these tags. How do I want to do this? These little tags are anodized aluminum, and the laser is basically just burning the yellow anodization off. Doesn't really give me a great contrast. I tried putting a little Sharpie on there, and it kind of burned it in a little better. I need to get some of that laser marking spray and redo this. I'll probably do that when I engrave the winner on there, but for now this will be good enough. Now I've just got to finish filing my filling. I've got a little stainless steel screw here that'll hold all of it together. I'm just going to silver solder my little carne cubes on here. Once I got a good base done, I wanted to do the rest in the tortilla. I gave it a good coat of soot from the torch so nothing sticks to it. And obviously if you're getting fun color flames like this, you want to make sure you're wearing respiratory protection. Gave that a quick sandblasting to clean off the flux and try to even out the texture as much as I could. I'll give the tortilla one final polish and then put it all together. And now I feel a sudden sense of regret in my decisions on how I constructed this thing. There goes the washer. Already lost the washer. I can almost see what I'm doing, too. Aha! Look at that. I was thinking I might have wanted a little spacer under there, but I don't think I need it. That means that that screw is longer than it needs to be now. If I go at a 45-degree angle, then no matter which side you look at, it looks right. So, when we start engraving the sides of it, it doesn't really have a front, I guess. I get to do a lot of projects that I would say are creative, but not necessarily artistic, so getting to do something that's a little bit artistic was really fun for me. I'm really happy with how this came out. It's kind of a lot nicer than it needs to be, which I kind of enjoyed the sort of sublime meeting the ridiculous here. And if you happen to be around Franklin, New Hampshire this Saturday, October 5th, you can find out if my taco making game is as strong as my taco trophy game and if I can win my own trophy.